of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another new edition of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Juan, and I am joined by the cast, the crew, the standalone fella. Thank you for listening to another new episode. I am Juan, and I am joined here by Zach. Zach, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You know, let's just take a moment to acknowledge we're in September. We're more than halfway done with 2023. What does that feel like?
Man, I like that word, though, that you used, acknowledge. Let's take a minute to just acknowledge and soak in what we have here, Zach, because you know what today is? Today is the final episode of year 4 of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we started in the second week of September, almost 5 years ago, talking about Psycho. Me and Ed had a cheap $20 microphone, no fancy anything, and we just sounded like we were in the closet together talking about Psycho. Fast forward all these years later, we're here. We still kind of sound like we're in a closet sometimes. No, but we're you know, I can't believe it's been
that would have been a very different episode. Probably would have ended differently than the shower sequence. So.
Oh yeah, you know. Speaking of showers, we got coffee, we got mugs, we got reviews, we got posters, we got giveaways happening. What about your weekend, Zach? How was the weekend? You mentioned that we're in September. We only have a few more months left of 23. But thank God we're not sizzling anymore, right? We just got a few more days.
Yeah, the mornings were nice this weekend, I'll be honest. But, man, it got sizzling hot after a while by the afternoon time.
Let's we're talking about hard feelings, no hard feelings here a little bit later today. We got a nice jam-packed show for you, not as jammed and as girthy as next week. Next week is going to be huge. It's our 5th year anniversary next week. But Zach, you don't have to let everybody know what you do, but how early do you make that travel to work, Zach? How early do you get there?
Yeah, I mean, I usually wake up about 5:30 every day from Monday through Friday. It takes me about 45 minutes to get to work, depending on traffic, honestly, and about an hour to get home.
So you're an early guy, early to rise, early to bed, Monday through Friday kind of guy. What do you get ready? What helps you get ready for your work day? Do you do coffee? Do you do water? Do you do a soda? What is Zach's go-to to get him ready for his not only his movie day but his work day?
You know, truthfully, like I don't drink coffee or anything like that. It's just like I guess I've been doing it for so long. I guess just my brain is just like wired. Be like, all right, time to get up. 5:30. Let's go. Get it done.
Man.
I'll get a Carl's Jr. sausage biscuits to start my day off. But yeah, I mean, other than that, by the time I get into the office, I'm just ready to get to work. What about you? How does you know?
They don't make
I think. How does like in the world of Johnny, like when he has to get to work, just knowing that Tuesday is a new Blu-ray release day, is that what gets you through the day?
You know, that's what gets me through the day, but it's also like it depends if I have to be at work at 6 a.m. or, you know, if I pissed in someone's cereal that day and I have to go to work at 10 p.m. It just depends, but it's usually just coffee. And now we're joined by Craig. Craig, I was just talking to Zach. You know, this is our last episode of season 4 before next week we go into season 5. What does Craig use to get his morning started? Like, are you a coffee guy? Are you an energy drink guy? What do you do to get your day started?
Well, first off, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am in my work office, as you can kind of see, a little bit different settings. Man, it all just depends what I'm feeling that day. You know, just wake up, get a nice cold cup of water, get the system going.
I
Some
thought for a second
days-
you're gonna say. Thought for a second you're gonna say a line of cocaine. I was like, okay, all right, Craig, let's start off hard.
No, some days it's a Red Bull, some days it's but my go-to is usually nice little cup of Pike Place Starbucks.
Mm.
Medium blend,
Little
some
pumpkin
milk.
spice.
No pumpkin spice.
Well, guys,
I know you're excited, Johnny. We're going to that season for pumpkin spice.
hey, I've already got the coffee in there. I've already got the creamer. I'm ready to go. But we're getting ready to jump into some conversations today, guys. If you did not check out last week's episode, go back, listen to it. It was a fun episode. Me and Zach talked all about
Public Enemies, finally.
Public Enemies. And Edward made a special guest appearance last week too.
Yeah, that's true.
Public Enemies was fun. Facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. You can find us on X at Cinnamon405. Email us at cineman921@gmail.com. Hit us up, and we will get into all different kinds of topics, situations, and all about what's next. But Craig, let's start with you. We haven't talked to you in a little bit. Do you have any recent watches or recommendations that you want to kind of get off your chest? I know you've been watching a lot of football, probably.
So let's start with
Start with some of the games.
well, let's just kind of go through what I've done recently. Wednesday was Ahsoka. Watched the first episode and a half of that, so I'm not fully caught up. Thursday, as you said, college football. Watched every single game that I could. Friday, football. Saturday, football. Sunday, hung out with family, football. Monday,
Football.
we went down to Norman and tried some new kind of hole in the wall burger joint. It's Adley's new thing to do. She wants to go try just new stuff, and so we're trying new
TikTok
little hole in the
videos.
wall places that are maybe like a mom and pop or a local.
The one in
as,
Norman, was it Brown Bag?
Yeah.
I heard some good things about that place.
It's just your average grilled burger. I mean, it was good, but it was I would recommend the fries over the onion rings. Personal opinion, if you go. But yeah, it was solid. Because Tucker's was closed on Monday. Because we were going to go to Tucker's because that's best burgers in town to Adley. But yeah, no, just a lot of football work. And then Public Enemies, I kind of commented on your posts about it. That's one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies. I really enjoyed him in it. I think it kind of breaks out from what he normally does, as far as Pirates of the Caribbean, a little more of a serious role, but I really enjoyed him in it. I remember I actually went and saw that in theaters with a friend of mine when it came out. So, yeah, one of my favorites. I really enjoyed it.
Public Enemy. So, was there anything you want to recommend as far as watching, or anything that you're looking forward to watching this weekend?
Yeah, you can recommend OU beating that ass against SMU. Like I said, I'm only a couple episodes in on Ahsoka, so I'm not too caught up there.
I heard of it. I watched the first episode. It's a little slow.
I heard things catch up on it though. Man.
So I got confused watching episode 1. This is after Return of the Jedi, correct?
No, this is before.
Before Return of the Jedi, but after Revenge of the Sith?
I'm honestly not sure. I'd have to completely. Like I said, it was like last week, and I've watched a lot of stuff since then. But I will let you know officially next week, or by the time I finish season 4 or episode 4, I'll know. But if story is accurate, it's after Anakin has obviously gone to the dark side, so it can't be before 3.
Okay.
Ahsoka is a little bit older, so maybe it is after Return of the Jedi. Maybe you're correct there. because because it's following Mandalorian and Grogu, which happens after Return of the Jedi. So yes.
So it's before Force. So it's in between Return and Force Awakens,
No, it's
essentially.
yes,
Yeah.
that's the timeline it's in.
So yeah, I mean, same thing. I kind of watched a lot of football. Certain different things came up that I wanted to watch as well. I got on a huge documentary kick. I don't know why, but I watched the Kurt Angle documentary. That's kind of what started it all, which is a Hollywood Super Size Me 1, 2, Time Warp 1, 2, and 3, talking about some of the best cult movies of all time. The Arnold documentary, I finally checked that out on Netflix. The Heart of Stone, garbage. I checked that out on Netflix. I was just a hard watch.
Oh, is that the Gal Gadot movie?
Gal Gadot movie, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then I checked out some football. I did check out Adam Sandler's new movie, You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah. It was pretty fun. It wasn't the best, even though a lot of people are calling it the best. But it was Adam Sandler definitely plays he's not the main star, I'll say that. He put his kids as the main star. He plays the dad, so it's definitely a young coming of age film. I watched No Hard Feelings getting ready for today's episode. I finally found it, and I had to settle for the DVD, but I found Angels in the Outfield. It's not on Disney Plus for some reason, which is really, really weird to me. But
it's got to be kind of one of those one-off movies where it was produced by somebody else and they don't want to give up the rights to it.
But it definitely brought back memories. You have actors like I just thought about it today: Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tony Danza, Danny Glover, Christopher Lloyd, Adrian Brody, Matthew McConaughey. Like Adrian Brody, Matthew McConaughey both won Oscars in their day. And it was a really, really joy to watch. So if you can find it,
I didn't know McConaughey was in that.
Yep. So if you can find it, I highly recommend that. Arnold, if you love documentaries, check out the Arnold documentary. And then the Kurt Angle documentary blew me away. So check those out. Zach, what about you? Did you check anything out?
Yeah. Did I talk about Gran Turismo last week?
No.
Okay. Went and saw that. Very, very good film. I was quite surprised by it, to be honest. Went and saw Equalizer 3 this weekend. It was a good ending for the trilogy. Denzel always kicks ass. I mean, what else? That's all you need for those type of films. And watch Batman Mask the Phantasm for next week's episode. So it'll be I know, Johnny, you're just so anxious about next week. So, but yeah, go check out Gran Turismo. Go check out Equalizer 3. Yeah, those are recent watches for me.
I was this close to going to see Gran Turismo yesterday. I had Tuesday off.
It's good. It's good. I think you'll like it, Craig.
Well, it's not in the Dolby anymore, so I was like, man, if it's not in the Dolby, I don't even know if I want to go see it.
Would they took that out and put the Equalizer in?
Probably,
yeah. And then I think this week is the Nun too. I think.
Like Zach said, next week is our big 5th anniversary. We're talking Batman Mask of the Phantasm. We also have a huge interview next week with actor Zach Shear as he gets ready for his brand new movie. So we'll talk to him next week and get some of his thoughts on not only his movies and his upcoming projects and his goals, but we'll get his thoughts on the 30th anniversary of Batman Mask of the Phantasm. But guys, let's get ready to talk about what we watched, what we're gonna try to either talk people into or tell them, hey, you know what, it's not worth your time. Today we're talking No Hard Feelings, which IMDb currently has a 6.4. Rotten Tomatoes is 70%. The Metascore is 59%. The Google users like it at 70%. With a budget of $45 million, it grossed a little over $7 million at the box office. It grossed a little over $87 million at the box office. On the brink of losing her home, Maddie finds an intriguing job listing. Helicopter parents looking for someone to bring their 19-year-old son out of his shell before college. She has one summer to make a man or Die Trying. Make Him a Man or Die Trying. Starring Jennifer Lawrence, Andrew Barth Fieldman, Laura Bettini, Matthew Broderick, Scott MacArthur, Natalie Morales, directed by Gene Stupinski. Zach, you're the one who brought this movie to my attention. I saw hardly any publicity for it whatsoever. Going to the theaters, any ads for it. I hardly saw anything for it. But you're the one who brought this movie to everybody's attention during recent watches. You went and checked this out in the theater. So we'll start with you. What was it like in the theater, and then what was it like revisiting it for this episode?
Yeah, so Jennifer Lawrence is one of my favorite actresses working right now, so I was automatically attracted to see this. And like you said, there was hardly any press for this, any advertisement or anything like that. So I'm just like, you know what? I want to support. I think it was kind of sandwiched in between a couple of big movies. I just wanted to I wanted to support it essentially. Went and saw it, loved it. I was like, wow, that was a really, in my opinion, I thought it was a very good comedy. We haven't had good comedies like that in a very, very long time, especially the raunchy R-rated comedies. Yeah, I think I had it at number 3 on the top of the year, top 5 of our so far 2023. And on this rewatch, I feel the same way. There was a lot of good moments in this. Excited to talk about it, and I'm more interested outside. It was interesting to see a comedy outside the theater without a crowd or anything, just watching it by myself. And I still laughed and had a good time watching it. So what about you guys?
So nobody was in your theater crowd?
No, it was packed. It was a sold out show.
He was saying watching it solo versus
just by myself.
theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Craig? Is this your first time watch?
This lighting makes me look sick. Yeah, it was my first time watching it. Yesterday, actually, is when I watched it. Didn't initially kind of grasp me. I found myself kind of looking away. I feel like the initial pull wasn't very hard. Because some movies you get like that initial pull and you're like, okay, you got me, I'm hooked, I want to know what's coming up. I feel like you kind of already knew what the base concept was of the film, and I had already kind of guessed what the ending was, which it kind of lines up with what I thought. Not exactly, but it didn't fully kind of get my attention until midway through, whenever the stuff actually started happening. Because like I said, I kind of had an idea of what the storyline was. So once it got past that initial portion and the stuff actually started happening between the two, that's when it kind of got my attention. But yeah, it was I'd say it was decent for a first time watch.
I'll have to kind of go with you. I really wanted to like this movie a lot, and I want to be like, hey, this can go up there with like Superbad, or this can be that coming of age, just funny blast out comedy of the year. But for some reason, it wasn't a bad thing. I liked it a lot the second time. I watched it twice in a week to just to get ready for today. The first time I watched it, and let's get into the conversation now, I felt really bad for Maddie. And I felt so bad for the character that the movie was not funny for me.
Yeah.
At least the first time.
Because you're watching it and you're like, man, she's having to stoop so low just to maintain something that she has a major attachment to, being the house.
Go ahead.
It just you kind of felt bad that she was having to do what she was having to do for her, as well as the kid for trying to be for being in that situation.
Yeah. And it wasn't only that too, but it was also the fact that mentally, I think that's where I came into it a little bit more, was she's on hard times, let's try to make a hard time thing seem funny, and they did. But the thing that really got me was mentally she was not stable whatsoever. It was almost like she was, fine one minute, she's kicking down doors, she's getting out of the beach nude to go kick some ass. I feel like she just mentally was just unstable. And that's kind of what made me feel a little upset.
But I think that's credit to Jennifer Lawrence's performance. I think the strongest thing about this movie is the performances of Lawrence and Feldman. I think they do have really good chemistry, especially when they start bonding. I think that really works. I think what you're saying, Craig or Johnny, probably, I guess, since both of y'all have the same thoughts. I think she's so dedicated to this that she's willing to do anything to make it work. When she first meets the parents, it's like, do you want me to date him or do you want me to date him? It's just like so on the nose. It's like, do you want me to have sex with them or do you not? And I remember when this movie came out this summer and there was controversy about like, is she essentially quote unquote whoring herself out in order to save her house and everything? And it's just like, I don't read into that much. I mean, I get what they're coming from, but at the same time, it's just like, this is someone that's at their lowest point in life, and they really want to keep the one thing that they're attached to, regardless of what they have to do.
Yeah, I think kind of jumping forward, the funniest line in this movie was when she's talking to her name is Natalie, the friend.
At the dinner, the fancy dinner.
She's like, how long are you going to keep doing this? And she's like, what, fucking for Buicks? Like, I legit laughed out loud at that point. But it's just like Johnny said, it's just kind of tough that because there are probably some people kind of in that predicament, like where they're having to do just maybe not this exact scenario, but they're having to do something that they normally wouldn't do just in order to keep their house. So I feel like yes, it's funny, but at the same time, maybe they could have chosen a different way to make her seem desperate to want to do this.
Let's talk about that. How different is life right now? Not just everybody here, but like how different is society right now to where maybe 10, 15 years ago, we would have been like, oh yeah, she needs to go out there and do whatever she can, to get, and watching stuff like Superbad or stuff like that to where like now we're almost like, man, I feel sorry for the character to where, we would have had a different thought maybe 10 years ago. Is it life changing for us as we're getting older? Or is it just like, you're not supposed to look at people like that anymore?
I think it's, I honestly,
like 10 years ago, we would have laughed our asses off.
I honestly think it's us having to be or lived those situations where we're at a moment where, it's like, what are we going to do to pay off our house this week? How are we going to make our car payment this week? How are we going to keep our lights on this month? There was a spot where personally we had to go ask my wife's parents for money in order to even stay afloat for a little bit, just because of, we got hit a couple times. Obviously we paid them back, but it's just life hits you sometimes. And that's, I think, the initial story building block of this movie just kind of was like, yeah, I get it, but it's funny, but at the same time, it's not funny because I feel like it kind of maybe hits people a little differently with, how they wanted to build this story.
Well, and I would jump off of that. I was going to bring up the whole, this is a very simple plot, which I think for a comedy, it's perfect, for this to be an hour and 40-minute movie. It flies by, in my opinion, it flies by. You get the jokes, you get the chemistry, you get the little bit of a drama with it. If this was a Judd Apatow movie, this would have been like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it's like that. It doesn't need to be that. And I like Judd Apatow movies. I think he's a good director, but I just think that you don't need to take a comedy does not need to be longer than 2 hours. It just doesn't work by a certain extent. And I like those. I like Knocked Up and The King of Staten Island and Funny People and all that.
I like the uncut version of Funny People, which is like 240. Okay.
Oh jeez. And to me, it's just like, I get what you're doing, but at the same time, it just doesn't. it just doesn't translate over with
I,
with this. You're just in and out, and the story is so simple that's the thing that I enjoy the most about it.
Yeah, and I think with it being so simple, I do believe as long as you can tell a good story, and as long as you can entertain from point A to point B to get your point across, whether it's an hour and 20 minutes or 3 hours, like I think that's all everybody ever sets out to do. But like, I want to ask you guys' opinion. It did fly by, but from like maybe the hour and 10 minute mark to the time he's driving the car onto the beach with her on top, I kind of feel like it dragged just a little bit. What do you guys think? Pretty much, I have right here pretty much the whole to tell the truth sequence from the dinner or from
Yeah.
the chicken and salad lunch up until the ending. It kind of dragged. Like the first hour, I thought was, it flew by, highly entertaining, but second half not so much.
I mean, I personally was more engaged in the second half of the film, and just when it was ending, I was kind of like, man, I liked where this story was going and the friendship and everything like that. I almost kind of enjoyed that a little bit more
Doesn't set up.
than the setup of it, just
Yeah.
because you finally got to see, two people who were probably in a predicament that they weren't put in themselves, because you see that the parents are just so, let me do this for you, let me do this for you, that they put
Yeah.
him in that cage that they're trying to get him out of, and that's not his fault. She's in a predicament where her car gets towed, and it's not really her fault that she's trying to go through all this. So the friendship that's bonded between two people, when that friendship starts to flourish, is when I really started to enjoy where the story was going. And you can see that she was actually mindful of his feelings, and not just she wasn't there just to get the Buick.
Let's
Well,
talk.
and I think the thing that really just cements that is when she goes to the party and she's like she's like the 30-year-old at like a 20-year-old party or whatever. But she finds, you think he's gonna sleep with the Princeton girl or
Natalie.
whatever. Yeah, Natalie. But she becomes very protective of him in that moment, where it's just like, no, like you're drunk. You want to enjoy this moment. Just shoves his head down the toilet to get the drugs out and everything.
The ibuprofen.
Yeah. But it's just like, I think, like you said, Craig, by the end of the movie, I think it is a friendship, and I think you say the predictability of this movie. I didn't find it predictable. I like the fact that they didn't end up together. This was just like a social experiment, I guess you would. And they don't. These are people on two different paths that it wouldn't work as a relationship anyway.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So when I said, kind of predicted the ending, my thought process was, in some way, shape, or form, they become attached to one another in some way.
Yeah.
Because the movie's
Yeah.
not going to end with her doing what she does and driving off in a Buick, even though it sounds funny and as you say it. But the ending of whether it's them together or them becoming, having a friendship, or them kind of finding the I guess maybe the silver lining in the predicaments that they were put in. That's what I was kind of going towards. Which, I mean, if you were to look at it that way, it is pretty predictable.
I mean, they end up together, but not in the way that you think
right.
They think you think they're gonna. That's what's gonna happen. They end up as two friends that, like I said, are different, opposite sides of the track, but they still clearly have feelings for each other, but they're not going to act on it. They just want it to be like, okay, I'll come see you here in a couple weeks or whatever in college.
Let's talk about some of my favorite laugh out loud moments were with Jim and Sarah, the best friend couple. What'd you guys think of them two?
Yeah, I thought when she gave them the baby thing of the umbrella with the surfboards.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, let me go find batteries for it. And they're just looking at her like, we'll put it up as soon as you're gone. I thought
the OnlyFans scene where she's like, what is an OnlyFans, Jim?
And that might have been the same scene, but the scene that that laugh out loud moment for me for those two characters where Jim kind of suggests what was the wife's name?
Natalie, or I mean, no, Sarah.
Sarah, he suggested his pregnant wife go and do it, and she says, "Just go in the ocean, just go get lost." She's like, just don't come back. Yeah.
I think she was really pregnant too, right? During filming.
Yeah,
she looked naturally pregnant. Yeah.
Let's talk. I don't know if this is going to be uncomfortable for anybody, but speaking of naturally, do you guys think it was?
Not a stunt double.
Bring this up.
No, I'm bringing it up. Do you think it was a stunt double when she got out? Her face looked super CGI'd when she got out of the beach, and she was full frontal. I was like, Jennifer Lawrence doing full. I doubt it.
I don't know.
But it
didn't she have a?
It looked awkward.
She just had a baby. She just had a baby recently. Well, before filming this, and so I doubt it. I hardly doubt it.
Because didn't she use a stunt double for that other one that she was in?
Oh, Red something.
Red
Sparrow. No, that was her. When her phone got hacked with that Sony crisis thing or whatever, she did that movie. She did the nudity, so that was all her. So I mean, it could be her in this. I mean, if she got in shape after having a baby, that's pretty impressive. So I mean,
and then
really tell you.
Being a big fan of the Bear, I was happy to see Ebon in there, who played Gary at the beginning and at the middle.
It was funny that their chemistry was good. I liked their chemistry.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking too, like, why is he not in it more? I kind of wish he had a little bit more of a role because they were hilarious that first opening segment together.
Yeah, she's like, it's my cousin. And then he grabs her. He's like, it's my second cousin.
Well, that was a great bit where he's like indecisive in the bakery, and she's trying to unhook the car from the tow truck.
That was pretty funny. Yeah.
So in the special features, they bring up that she's almost Lebowski-esque. What do you guys think about that? Comparing her to the Big Lebowski, how she's kind of lazy. She doesn't put her first foot forward, but she goes on this adventure of trying to get shit done. What do you guys think about that comparison?
I wouldn't say that because Craig did not like that movie. So
that's what I was gonna say. I don't
see that.
I just see her as, she had a lot happen to her when she was younger with her dad leaving. She has the house that her mom lived in. And I think she just felt comfortable. A lot of people just get to a spot where they're comfortable, they're complacent, they're happy where they're at. So, I mean, I guess you could call it lazy, but at the same time, everybody has moments where they're just like, I have all I need. They don't want more. They don't need less. They have what makes them happy, I guess, so to speak. And, her routine was all she wanted. So,
yeah, I was with you, Johnny. I watched some of the special features on here, and this is actually based off a real Craigslist. Someone listed this as like a real thing, and they said, "Oh, that'd be a kind of a funny movie." And so that's kind of the genesis of how this project came to be.
Let's talk about the parents because we haven't talked to Matthew Broderick since our Godzilla episode. I thought he was absolutely hysterical in this movie. He plays Laird, and she's like, layered like lasagna. He's like, no, layered like layered. And I don't know why they had to use a wig for him, but I thought it was funny.
He looked weird. He looked super weird.
Where has this guy been for a while? Same thing with Jennifer Lawrence. Like you said, Zach, she had a baby. That's the first time she's really been in something in a while. But like Matthew Broderick, like, wow, where have you been at?
We need to do Go Gadget, Inspector Gadget.
Well, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. As much stuff is being remade and sequelized, it would not surprise me at all.
I just got one of his first movies a few days ago called War Games. I've never seen it, so it'll be pretty interesting to watch it soon.
Well, and like you said, Johnny, I was just like, what was the last thing Jennifer Lawrence was even in? I looked it up. It was Causeway, that Apple TV movie. I've heard good things about it.
A24.
Yeah. No. Oh, well. No wonder you've seen it. And then the one before that was Don't Look Up. So I was just like, yeah. And then I guess like you said, she had her child and just took some time off. So
Yeah, I mean, so
Do you guys like the parents? Do you think they were funny together?
I like the overbearingness of him. Like that, just that's like a typical trope, but I think the two actors really pulled that off.
mhm. I I really liked after he brought him over to dinner. He was like, "Aren't you gonna, introduce yourself and do all?" And he's putting them in that predicament where they, he's hinting that he knows, but he's not letting it off, and they can't let it know that they know, or that they know each other. And I liked after he drops the tree on it, she's still doing Uber as she drives up, and she's like, "I have your picture. Get in." And like the car's like all bent down and broken, and the glass is shattered out. That was funny.
That was good. Yeah, I mean, like when I think about it, like like you said, Johnny, is this like one of the best comedies ever made? Is it super bad? No. But I mean, there's a lot of good moments in here. There are a lot of chuckles and laughs and like heartfelt moments. So I mean, like I think this movie does succeed in that in what it was trying to do. So
yeah, I mean,
There's definitely some moments.
I enjoyed it further, towards the end. The ending was better than the beginning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's a classic. I don't think it's a top comedy in the last 10 years. But I do think it's one that, if you want to have a good, Friday night movie with your significant other, it's a funny movie to watch.
Did you watch it with another Craig, or was it just you?
I was trying to watch it with Mallory. She fell asleep. So it was just me.
There you go. That's how this movie ends. No,
because she wanted to watch it because she was like, "I see you're doing No Hard Feelings. I want to watch it." I was like, "All right, let's do it." And then she never watched it.
This is one of those movies that I feel is a perfect date night movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like when I went and saw the theater. There was a ton of couples. That's pretty much all it was, essentially.
Yeah.
And it cracks me up, Craig, that she's pissed off that we're doing School of Rock here in 2 weeks. That she's
her family loves School of Rock, loves School of Rock, and I mean it's School of Rock's up there. It's one of my favorites. So I mean it's sucks for her.
Do you guys think this is too raunchy, or Jennifer Lawrence said in the special features that if you're going to do a comedy nowadays, it should be a raunchy R-rated comedy. To you guys, do you think this is too raunchy, or are you like, because let's take for example when she's going through looking for Percy, she's like, geez, doesn't anybody fuck anymore? And then she kicks the hole through the door and she's like, did you fuck him? Did you fuck him?
Yeah.
The scene where they're pointing the finger and calling her a bully,
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was going to bring up, because it's just like, this movie, like you said, it made $87 million. So it got its budget back. and on the outset, I like this movie because it goes back to the R raunchy comedy. But
so do I.
A couple weeks after this, Joyride comes out, which was the all Asian American film, and it bombed terribly. And so it's just, are we past that as a society, or are we just like, are we afraid to laugh at that, essentially?
So why'd you bring up Joyride? Was it because it's a PG-13 comedy, or
no? It was a R-rated, like super bad type comedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Never heard of it.
Well, there you go.
I think we are at a point where who produced this movie? What?
It was Columbia Pictures.
Sony,
yeah.
I feel like these distributions, these companies they're putting all their eggs in the big movies, and they're hoping that those movies really bring in the bread and butter, and they're not putting enough into the basket of these smaller time movies that
you talking about just promoting wise.
promoting wise, maybe budget or cast wise, because you look back at Superbad and it's like, yes, now we can say that a lot of those were, good actors, predominant actors, when only a couple of them were, Seth Rogen and the other cop, but a lot of them were younger actors at the time.
Well, you can also even think about some of those comedies back in the day being just word of mouth type movies, to where, just like this one, the budget or the box office wasn't huge, but maybe in 5 or 10 years, this will be one of those cult following movies.
I think it also helps that back when Superbad came out, groceries weren't double what they were a couple of years ago. Gas wasn't super expensive. Movie tickets weren't almost double what they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You can go see just a random movie, and if it wasn't that good, it is what it is. But if you're going to a movie and you're buying tickets, popcorn, snacks, you're spending $60-$70, you need to make sure that the movie's going to be good. And I don't think this is, you see the trailer for this movie and you kind of think, okay, I have a general idea of what this movie is. It's not going to be one that you're like, I'm willing to go spend $80 on a movie that I kind of have an idea of what it is. And I think that's
streaming.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
I think that's the era we're in, where if you're not putting something out there that is by far above and beyond what everything else is in the theater at the time, you're probably not going to get your budget, because of just the pricing of everything.
I mean, the two, well, I'm not going to call them big movies, but the two movies of August, the first that started the month off of August, the Meg 2 and the Last Voyage of the Demeter, they're already on streaming. Not streaming, but you can get them on Vudu for like $20 now. Like, they're already out of the theaters. So it's just like, this one, I think people are like you said, Craig, I like Jennifer Lawrence, but I already know what this movie's about. I can already predict it. So just like, I'll just wait for it to hit Netflix or something. So
that's just the sad thing, though, is like movies are almost like, let's put it in theaters for 3 weeks, bump it out, make all of our money on streaming, renting. So many families are going to do a movie night at home anyway, get some pizza, and that's pretty much what it is now. But
it's just they're almost pricing themselves out of business.
And then Zach, we kind of talked about it last week with the strike. The strike is not helping anything either.
No.
Because now these movies are getting pushed back, and now they're going to hardly make any money when they come out, and it's just like.
I mean, I brought up Craig, you weren't on last week's episode. I brought up the fact that Doom Part 2 got pushed. I'm just like, you don't have to have actors promote that. People are going to go see it. That first one made so much money, especially a year into COVID. You don't have to. No, I don't. That's stupid. I don't understand that.
I agree. I agree with that.
They still have to go promote the movie, though.
Right. They're obligated to do it.
Yeah, the actors are contractually obligated to go do it. So if they're technically on strike, they can't promote the movie because of contract stuff. So
right.
It's
so some of these might be some fun questions that maybe we could ask Zach next week, as he is in the acting business. We can maybe get some more line on that.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be curious because, like, if he's part of SAG, technically he's not really allowed to promote this movie that he's in, unless he's not. If he's not, then it's not going to matter. We can ask him about just like what his thoughts on it, but that's interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah.
So
you guys dug the ending. They ended up not being friends. She drives him to college.
I would consider them friends.
Right. No, that's what I said. Like they're friends.
Okay.
She's driving him to college.
Yeah.
She took his words to heart and actually took a leap and is doing something else, something different.
Yeah.
So I think in a way they both help each other out in the end, kind of coming out of their shell and doing something different that they wouldn't have done beforehand.
When he heard the conversation on Bluetooth, what did you guys think? Was that just a jaw dropping? Like, oh my God, are you serious?
Well, it's funny that's, because there's multiple ways that you can go about him finding out. but him being in the Tesla, like, looking at the car, and that's how he finds out. It's pretty funny.
It's a very updated, real chance that could happen.
Yeah. Car gets turned on, Bluetooth gets kicked over.
What about the lobster scene where they're eating, and then he goes and plays the piano, and she just kind of has that in awe moment? But in all reality, he's really good at playing the piano. Do you guys think that song was about a real monster, or did you know what?
I think in that moment she just realizes that, there's more to him than just some nerdy kid.
Yeah.
He actually listens to her. He's not just some, and she even goes and meets the guy at the bar, and he's like doing all this stuff, and he puts the Chinese finger trap on,
on his pecker.
Yeah.
Which I was like sitting there as soon as I saw the Chinese finger trap, and he's like, "Close your eyes." I was like, I know what he's doing.
Oh no.
So that was funny. But it's like, I think at that, just kind of those moments stacked on top of each other, she realizes, like, even though he is different than what you would quote unquote call somebody normal, there's a comfort, there's a trust, there's just because he's different doesn't mean it's bad kind of coming to, realization moment.
And it's also, I think it's also, she recognizes the innocence in him, where it's just like, I've done all this, they sit around talking about the first time they had sex, like her and her two friends talk about the first time they had sex or whatever, what they would do to, get money in situations. It's just like, this kid's not going to do that. He just wants to live, a pure life, I guess you would say, or whatever. But then like the scene where, like, he says he wants to have sex with her in the limo, and he tells her that she loves him. It's just like one of those things where just like,
no, you don't.
No, it's just, you're drunk. You have no idea what that feeling's like. So, it's a turn off, especially for her. But at the same time, for him, it's just like, he's ready, even though he has no idea what the hell's going on, to be honest. So
let's talk about
overall, I just think this movie does have a good message at heart that it tries to get across. You could make an argument sometime there might be holes in the road that they were trying to go down, but I mean, overall, I think they accomplished what they made the movie to do. So
yeah. Favorite scene? Craig, do you have a favorite scene that you want to mention?
Man, I like when the two scenes where, like, he's on the hood and then she's on the hood. Like, are we doing this right now? And she's like, I can't stop. Like, I'm on probation. If I stop, I lose my license. She floors it past the train. And then, he does the same. So it's kind of, they're both put in those situations. So I like those. And then I like the part where she's like, what, fucking for Buicks? Like, it's because it's like, when you say it out loud, it seems so bad and just like, I guess you would say whorish, but in all reality, she's only doing it to get the car because she's trying to save the house that she had such a close connection with because of her mom.
Yeah, it's true.
Try to pick a scene or two. Honestly, any scene that Jim and Sarah are in are pretty hysterical. I think they're perfect side characters. I do like the scene where she goes and tries to adopt a dog, and he spells the dog's name out. She's like, "Oh, cocaine."
Yeah.
And then the party where she's getting filmed and she keeps being called ma'am. She gets fucking chopped in the throat. That whole sequence is just hilarious. So, what about you, Zach?
Comedy wise, I like when they go back after the skinny dipping thing. They go back to her place and she's trying to do lap dances and everything, and it's just like, oh my god, look at this rash all over your body. And then, but it turns into like a real character moment of like, I'm not I'm not buff. I'm not popular or anything. And I think there's a part of her that kind of sympathizes with him in that moment. And then, like you said, Johnny, the fancy prom date where he goes over and plays the piano, I thought it was a good leverage between the comedy and like the seriousness of it. I thought both of those scenes worked really well.
Yeah.
So
Star rating. Greg, we'll start with you. 1 out of 10.
You cut out a little bit. So star rating 1 out of 10. I guess I'll start. I'll give it a 6. It's not terrible. It's not the best. I think it's kind of right there in the middle. Had good moments, had laugh out loud moments. Not a movie I would personally buy myself. But it probably is one that I wouldn't mind watching again in the near future if it came on like Netflix or something.
is it it's fine category?
It's
Or
a
is
little
it a
better. It's a little bit better than fine. Like I said, I think a one-time watch for a date night. I think this is a perfect, like you said, Johnny. I think it's a perfect date night movie. You're trying to figure out what you want to watch. Kids are in bed or kids are gone or you don't have kids. Pop some popcorn, get some drinks, grab a little blanket, snuggle up. I think it's a good, hour and a half movie. It'll get the job done.
I'm gonna go one right above you just a little bit. I'm gonna give this one a 7 just because on the second watch that I had, it still went by a little fast. It dragged a little bit for me, but I'm like, oh, it's got pretty good rewatchability to it on the second view. So I'm definitely gonna give this one a 7 before we head on out of here. So just because of the rewatchability. Zach, the floor is yours.
I guess I'll be the highest out of all of us. I'll give it an 8. Walking out of the theater, I gave it a 9. I thought that this was one of the best movies of the year so far, in my opinion. It's dropped down to an 8, not because of pacing or anything. It's just I still had the moments and the feelings of when I saw it in the theater, but just not seeing it with the crowd, it just kind of was like, okay, I knew what was going to happen. I knew the jokes. So it's just kind of like they still landed, but it just didn't have that same feeling the first time around. So, but still, solid film. I think one of the better movies of the year for me. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I can't even think of all the comedies that have come out this year. But as far as what I can remember, I think it's probably in the upper portion of comedies that have come out this year, from what I've seen.
I haven't even seen that many comedies come out this year.
That's
so
what I'm. This might be the only one. I could be saying that, and that's the only one. So
unless you want to, go through and dig through some of like the Netflix. John Cena has that comedy out on Hulu right now. Adam Sandler has one out on Netflix. So there's some out there, but Craig, like you said, this probably might be one of the only few ones that just kind of
like if that's a
you.
true comedy that came to the theaters.
Well, and like I said, this was sandwiched in between The Flash, Elemental, and then Indiana Jones. So it's just like this. The fact that this made any money is kind of shocking, in my opinion. So.
Honestly, this is probably one of the best films of the ones that you just named, besides Elemental.
Yeah.
I know it's on Disney Plus. I just wanted to bring this up. I finally got my hands on a copy of Lightyear. I'm gonna finally watch it for the first time since I've seen it in the theater.
Wait, I was gonna say you haven't seen it yet? I was like, what?
I watched it in the theaters, but I just wanted to push that out there. I'm excited about the rewatch.
I was at the Dollar Tree and found that.
They have a lot of Lightyear stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to just put that out there. But any final thoughts on No Hard Feelings before we put the final nail in the coffin on that movie and head to the granddaddy of them all?
The Rose Bowl?
5th year anniversary show next week.
I'll start off by saying DC animation is elite. They don't miss when it comes to animation. So I'm looking forward to rewatching that. I think Jennifer Lawrence needs to be in more movies. I think she's very well versed in being rounded. Obviously, I mean, she was in a comedy. She's in kind of a drama, I guess you would say, the one with
Drama,
Chris
action.
Pratt, where they're in
Oh,
the spaceship.
Passengers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Passengers.
It's football season. Go watch
Silver Linings Playbook.
Silver Lining Playbook.
It's a good
You
movie.
know, with her and Robert
Bradley
De Niro
Cooper.
and Bradley Cooper. These shoes, Greg.
These shoes. I got nothing, Greg.
But yeah, I think next week is going to be fun. You know, we're definitely going to talk through a lot of memories that we all have had over the past 5 years. We're going to talk. Some argue it's my opinion. Maybe who knows? One of the greatest DC animated movies of all time. It's definitely going to be fun. We don't do that many animated movies, but this is one that I've been wanting to do for the last 5 years, and I'm kind of excited to see everybody's thoughts. Zach, was this a first time watch for you?
It was.
Jesus Christ!
You've already watched Phantasm?
Yep. It's on HBO.
I'm gonna.
There was that week where I binged like every single DC animated movie. That's why they're elite, dude. They are. I mean, when you think of animated movies, I don't think there's any. I mean, unless you're digging into like the anime realm, I don't think any other brand is doing animated movies better than DC.
I almost had I didn't know which one to choose. It was either this or The Killing Joke, and I'm like, when I saw that this is celebrating 30 years, I was like, we got to do this one. 30 years this Christmas.
We're doing it because it's getting a 4K Blu-ray next week, so that's part of it.
Imagine if it came into the Criterion somehow.
Oh my god,
Johnny
would have blew.
I would have blown what?
Would have blown a casket.
Speaking of, Zach, let me bring this up to you. You know, if you blow anything into something, you blow it usually into a rag or, you know, a Kleenex or something. Like I'm talking about your nose or something. Saturday, Craig, I don't know if you're ready, but Saturday is a very big day. Do you think they have a chance?
I did until I saw Jalen Milroe play. I think he's going to light y'all up.
Who they play? Who the defense that he played against?
You guys played Rice. Chill.
Right. So this is both teams' very first, you know, little. As long as it's not a 53 zip, I don't know. I said that last year and we lost by a field goal.
Yeah. Well, you lost by 1.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Texas has a chance this year to beat them. I don't know. Last year it was in Austin. I don't know how much of a factor home field is going to come into play. But I mean, Texas is honestly the more returning, like chemistry wise, that they returning a little bit more than Bama. But Bama's been recruiting 5 stars better than anybody the last 5-6 years. So we'll see.
They lose by if it's like last year and they lose close. What do you think?
Copies for closers only.
Yeah.
I just think if y'all lose to Bama, I think your whole I mean, it's what Texas is. Your whole mentality, I think, might be take a hit.
So even if they lose by just a few points, you think they're still going to have a mediocre season?
Not mediocre. I think the Big 12 is hot dog water, aside from OU, Texas, and UCF and Cincinnati looks pretty good. But
I want to see a good defensive showing. If somehow we come out and we win like 9-3 or 9-6, I would be happy with that. Or even if we lose 9-6, I want to see a defensive game.
I think this year it'll be like a 31-27 game.
I don't want to see that for some reason. Like for some reason, I feel like even if we lose, I feel like we would get so much more respect out of a 9-6 game.
I just don't see it happening.
It's a 6:00 game. It's going to be pretty interesting. I'm biased, but I'm hoping for a dub. So we'll see. if I'm not here next week for the 5th anniversary, you guys know why. You guys will have to do. No, I'm just messing with you. Next week, I'm excited. Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, Zach's first watch. I don't know. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk to Zach Sheeran next week as he gets ready for his movie that comes out in just a few weeks. September the 29th, I believe. You can go see it September the 29th. The Re-Education of Molly Singer is what we're going to be asking him about next Wednesday. Comes out September 29th. So I'm excited for next week, guys. Huge week right here at the podcast. Before we get out of here, is there anything else you guys would like to add? Is that Craig?
No, nothing on my end.
All right,
I think
guys.
we're good to go.
We will talk to everybody next week. 5th anniversary, new season, new episode next week. Big, brand new right here on the Cine-Men movie